It's documented. And it's not just me saying this. Back in 2017, if you look on the internet, you can find probably 20 minutes of Democrats, from Hillary Clinton to Amy Klobuchar to Vice President Kamala Harris, saying that these voting machines, the electronic voting machines that tabulate our sacred vote, are easily compromised, not fair, easily hacked. I believe it was Kamala Harris, Mike, who said that she witnessed with her own eyes as one of these machines was hacked right in front of her. We can't have machines like that counting our sacred vote. There's too much on the line. And if you look back at the primary in Georgia, and one county, two counties actually, they took the results of the electronic voting machine and they had a hand count in those two counties. And guess what they found out? The electronic voting machine, the person who the voting machine said was number one and won, was actually in the hand count the third place. And the third place winner in the hand count, or in the voting machine count, was actually the first place winner in the hand count. We can't have that kind of discrepancy. Our vote is too sacred. And so we want to make sure we have a secure and honest election system, and I'll work with lawmakers to make sure that happens.
I know you've been asked about this election and whether you would abide by the results no matter what happens. Are you confident that this election cycle in Arizona will be a fair and election?
I wish.
And that's another framing thing, right? Will you abide by the results no matter what happens? That's what they do to set you up to say because if you say no, then of course they're going to say she's going to cheat. She's an election denier. She's a fascist. She wants to take power no matter what happens. And if you say yeah, and then of course they can just cheat and steamroll you. So it's a win-win for them. That's all about framing. It's the same thing with this. So you've denied the election. And this guy's doing an all right job, but we're only a couple minutes in, so we'll see if he is actually capable of doing a fairly neutral job, which I realize is not fully possible, right? We're all human. We all have our biases. You can call yourself a journalist. That doesn't make you not a human. So you're still going to have your point of view. But obviously there are some people, networks, outlets who are far more obvious and obnoxious with exactly what they want to happen and possibly what they're getting paid to try to make happen.
I could sit here and say yes, but I'm not. We have an incompetent Secretary of State who happens to be my opponent. And I'm not the only one saying she's incompetent. The Arizona Supreme Court.
But not just incompetent, Kari. Just for the record, Katie Hobbs and the rest of these, establishment puppets, they're not incompetent. They're actually evil and they're manipulative. You don't make it, you don't become a, 50, 60-year-old woman or, 50-year-old man like John Fetterman or whatever and get to these high, fairly high-ranking political positions and just be incompetent. No, that's you being able to play ball. And okay, fine, maybe evil is a little bit harsh, but it's incredibly manipulative, and it has to me very little to do with incompetence. They're not incompetent. In fact, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing and what they're told to be doing.
In a recent ruling, called her incompetent. She's not even showing up at the office. She's only been at the office 19 days in the last 6 months, and we the people are paying her salary. She's not showing up for work, and we have some very critical elections. I'm afraid that it probably is not going to be completely fair. We look back at the August 2nd election. That was a primary election. Katie Hobbs, the incompetent Secretary of State, is the one who gave guidance to the various counties of how many ballots they would need for the primary election. And Pinal County, one of our largest counties, 1 hour into voting on election day, ran out of only the Republican ballots. And they continued to run out of ballots. By the end of the day, a quarter of the polling places had run out of ballots. That's a lot of people who were disenfranchised during the primary election. And we're already finding out in this election, Mike, that there have been problems. Just this week, we found out that Hobbs, in her incompetency and maladministration, had already messed up with 6,000 ballots, the wrong ballots sent to the wrong people. And so we're seeing...
Yeah, that's not a mistake. You see what I'm saying? She keeps calling it incompetence, but it's not incompetence. It's playing ball. It's doing exactly what the man or the people, the establishment, the curtain, whoever it is, they're doing. It's the same with that Secretary of State in Colorado, I believe, who just mistakenly sent thousands of registration reminders to non-citizens. That's not a mistake. None of this stuff is a mistake. We know that by now, especially after the Rona stuff. None of that was a mistake. All of their flip-flopping about you know, how effective this and that was, and social distancing and all that. None of that was a mistake. That was all on purpose. Just like the entire thing that's happening, the gas prices, inflation, baby formula, the border, Ukraine, all of that stuff, that's managed decline. That's not a mistake. That's not incompetence. They're doing exactly what they want to be doing to make us dependent on them and basically just be miserable, because you don't want to have a happy, independent population that doesn't need you. They need to make sure that you're very angry and dependent, and you're going to scrap at the, chomp at the bits for the crumbs that they're going to give you, the little refund that they're going to give you from the money they took out of your pocket and all that stuff. None of it is incompetence, in my humble opinion. It's all very malicious.